is an approach that has been brought by Amartya Sen, the Nobel Prize in Economics, and we have applied to children. The concept of capabilities has two main elements. The first element is the opportunity, so the fact that people should be considered on what are their opportunities. So, and the other is a concept that is related to capacity, and this is the terms capability come out. So it's a mix from ability and opportunity. In our life, we want to have ability and opportunities to conduct our life as we would like. And so it's very linked to the concept of freedom and the fact that anyone could in reality choose what he or she wants to be and to do. Yeah, this is the main concept. When a country, when a government, when a policymaker think about children of his country, and not just about the well-being of children now, but how they will be in the future, so they will becoming, is really a very important moment, because it's something which is related to social justice. Children very often do not have the opportunity, the voice, to be part of the decision-making process. So to think about children is really to open new understanding about our society, is to think about in long terms of a country. So it's a very important moment. Social justice, long-term thinking is something which are very relevant. I mean, for the future, not just of the children, it's about the country. And you will ask yourself questions as policymaker, which you would not have asked if you don't have the perspective of doing things for children. And everyone will benefit. The country will benefit all about this new perspective, because if you are doing policy for children, at the same time you are doing policy for everyone. For instance, I give you some examples. When you want a free polluted environment for your children, okay? And so you're doing some policy, some laws and some rights. But at the same time, everyone will benefit from a free polluted environment. The older people, the adults, and obviously the children. The same is for violence. You would like to have a free environment from violence, so a free environment from violence for children, but this is for everybody. If instead of a culture of conflict and violence, you have a culture of dialogue, this is not just for children, but everyone would benefit, even parents, even the society and the community at large. So this is my answer. So it's a good thing. I think that this type of approach is really complementary to the human rights approach. They both ask for a cultural change, which not all society and countries are ready to do, but Chile is probably really ready to do this real big passage. The cultural change is very strong. So you need the human rights, because the human rights is the base for social justice, for a good society. But when you have that, you need to go further. You need to understand better what are the aspirations and what are the opportunities children would like to have, what they do value, what the society do value. So it helps you to understand better the capability approach, what human rights means for people, and what, as a consequence, what are the policies and the services that people do need to fulfill their rights, which when you have a rights, the right is very relevant, is important to advocate for some aspects of your life, but at the same time doesn't tell you how and doesn't tell when. And this is why an approach which is linked to the capability approach and to the human development and sustainable development comes in, as well with the participation. Because one of the base of this approach is participation. So children should given the capacity and the opportunity and the spaces to participate to the dialogue and to the decision-making process. So this is the big change. And they reinforce each other. On the one side, you need to have human rights for children, and because this is the base for process freedom, to be part. Then you need the capability approach to take advantage of this freedom process in order to be part of a change. So these see children as change makers in our society. It's a very big change, and this has been called also by the Bachelet, president of Chile, in saying, what do we want? We want children subject, okay, of rights, and this is very important. But we have to think about how we do want. Do we want just an object or as a subject? We want them as a subject, as the president say, but even more, we want them as an active actors, an actor of change. And you can have that only through participation, to take into consideration their knowledge, their creativity, their capacities, and they understand their own understanding through contact with their peers of the society, and how this society is evolving or should be evolving is very relevant, and they should be part of this process. Unfortunately, if there are no rights, they are not part of the process. Unfortunately, if we do not listen to children, it's not just listening, but if we do not collaborate with them, it's difficult to have a better society. So they are change makers. They are those who are challenging us, and there are those who are pointing us how our society could be better. And as I said in what you asked me before, is when you have when you have your capacity to answer to this question about children, you are answering many questions which are related to the society and that are very often sedimented in the society. The society is related to history, and history tends to sediment, you know, the geological process, rules, institutions, and only through children you can have a different perspective and change those institutions which year by year were left to us from the past. Also conflictual situation. The challenge you're saying in Latin America and in Chile, I think there is a challenge. The challenge is quite important, because as I said, you have institutions, rules that are sedimented in our society. Here we are talking about changing the perspective, changing the culture of thinking of people, understanding better the context where we live, not just thinking that everybody is the same in the sense that they have the same issues to face. And this is very much related to the context where some children do live. And so the first challenge is cultural. The first challenge is really something to learn. The children are not passive recipients of our policies, but they could be part of the process of decision making, and they can make the change really. So this is the first. And the second is the fact that you should start to think differently. When you talk about school, when you talk about classes, when you think about health sector, you have to think them as an instrument, not just as an end in itself. We as countries, as governments, are used to work in different sectors, no? Separated very much. Now you need an integrated approach. This is a very big challenge, because our policymakers are used to think about their sector. Their Ministry of Agriculture just think about agriculture, but agriculture has a lot of influence on the life of children and of the other people in terms of what quality of food you have, how much you are polluting or not the soil, and so on. So everything is related, and this is not easy to understand, because year by year policymakers are used to work at the sectorial level to be more efficient. But here we are talking about a very complex issue, which cannot be answered by one sector, social policy, but it has to be answered or at least try to answer, through the interaction between different policymakers of different sectors. It's not easy to change your way of working. So policymakers used to work on something separately from other, and this is not possible anymore if you want to understand the complexity of our life. And so this is the challenge after the cultural. You have really something related to the capacities. Then if you want to bring a change, then at the local and in practice, it's good to have good ideas, things about new perspective, but you also have to think about goods and services as instruments for something else, which is the well-being and well-becoming of children. So it's important that policymakers understand the distinction about ends and means. And if they do, for instance, think that educational policies is just building schools, it's not enough. Schools is a mean. Education is a mean for something more important, in which is the well-being and well-becoming of our children. So you have to think much more in a complex way. You have to think that school is not just learning something, it's not just a building, it's something more. And even from the pedagogical side, you have to understand that you can give much more than just some standard skills in school, and so on. So these are some elements. So the first I say is a cultural change. The second is the fact that you need to have an integrated system and the capacity of policymakers to interact in an integrated way. And the third is to distinguish between means and goals, and to focus on goals rather than on means. You can be very efficient in producing means, but you will fail maybe in reaching the goal. It's true. In the long term is something very relevant in this process. Indeed, when you are having some expenditure for children services, these are really not expenditure. As many people are saying now, these are investment. And the investment you will get after a certain period. And when you invest something, you need to have a vision on what and where you want to go. And this is something which is challenging the policy making. Indeed, one of the first points is really if the policymakers and the politicians really want to achieve this. So it's the willingness of the politician to be involved in a process of change. And this is something which is occurring now in Chile, according to my stay here and to the listening to many politicians and ministries. So this is something very important. The cultural change is probably the most difficult, and not just by the people and policymakers, but also by the bureaucracy. The policymakers and the bureaucracy are very scared about spending more money.
About thinking a lot, as you are asking for.
Yeah, they are very worried about, what this policy will bring to us, changing this perspective, and they are very much scared about, this is going to increase my expenditure. No, you're just spending, you're just using the public money better. In the sense that when you use and apply the capability approach, which is the coming out from a participatory and democratic process, you are going to listen in people. You are going to listen to civil society, and you are going to understand much better which are the issues to be solved, those elements that facilitate people progress, and those elements or barriers that are making people not evolving as they wish. Now, I found, I have to be honest here, I have been impressed by the quality of the conference. I have been in many conferences, and there are two reasons why I think that. First, I found all intervention made by persons who were invited very interesting, very appropriate, and of high quality. But the other things which impressed me was the presence of policymakers. And I have to be honest on the fact that when you have children, you expect policymakers to be there. I mean, not just policymakers, I mean politicians. And politicians were all there, all the ministries were there. This is a very good sign. And what to my knowledge, there were also some deputy or senator from the party of the opposition. And this is a good sign. It's a very good sign because it shows that what Chile is discussing about is the future of everybody, not from people that are on the government side or those who are not in the government side. This means that here people were looking for the children. And this is what a country should do. This is what a country should try to do, also Italy. Some policies are needed for the people, doesn't matter where they come from. They are really needed by children in this case. Once one politician in Italy asked me and say, Mario, why, I'm not telling you who, but anyway, it was not at national level, it was at regional level, asked me why people with disability, I do a lot of policy for them, I'm spending a lot of money for them, but they are not happy. They're really not happy. I'm giving all the money and they're asking me more. And this is important to distinguish, indeed, what is the difference between a rights and how the capability approach can complement rights. As a person with disability, you feel that you need something that has been taken out, which I don't think is the right way to look at disability, because you have your own talent, you are a person also with an impairment. But the point is that you think about your rights. So you're pushing for, I want this because I am a person with disability, which is good. But then think of what they are giving you. So if, let's say, the policy makers say, well, this year, person with disability needs something, and you don't need that. This is a way of fulfilling the rights because you will have something, but it's not fulfilling your aspiration and desire. So you may wish something different as a person with disability, and would you like to have your own project of life, plan de vida? This is something that is very important, and this was my answer to this policymaker. Listen to the civil society, listen to person with disability, try to understand deeply what is needed, and not just giving services because it's a right. You have to qualify the rights, you have to give quality to the right. Okay, this is my answer. So starting exactly from the fact that these things were is related to the conference of so high level. I mean, I enjoyed it very much. I have already mentioned this about children as passive recipient of policy, object of rights. During this conference, it was clear that children are not object of rights, they are subject of rights. And we can add something more. Can be, as I said, an active actor in the society, active citizen. And this means they are change makers with the other people of the society. And this means also that we can take advantage, we can take really the opportunity of having their creativity, ideas, new energy, passion, which very often are missing, and many of us as adults are saying, oh, things will not change. We need people that do believe that things are changing. And to have that, we need a school that is helping children to become critical thinkers, which is not a negative thing, it's a positive thing. They are very much involved in this process. But you need to give them the opportunity to understand how to cooperate one each other, how to listen each other, how to bring about their problems, how to bring about issues, how to find solutions. This is something that is not coming spontaneously. Our school very often, as I said, focus too much on skills that are related to the labor, but are less interested in skills that are very relevant for the relationship among people. We end up in having children that are very much individualistic. And when they see an issue which is maybe related to them, they see an issue that is of someone else. Let's say pollution or other things. No, it's not really taking my side. I'm healthy. Rather, we need people that are able to care, to take care, to think. And this comes from school also. Because we have to think that children stay at school much longer than at home. And when they're at home, they have other things to discuss or to dialogue with their parents. And this capacity to interact, this capacity to be creative, the capacity to have peer counseling and things like that is something which has to be taught in the educational system, and which has to be fostered also at the local level, community level. I mean, the community is very much disaggregated. So if we want a more aggregated society, less conflicts, we need to teach, well, I would not say teach, we need to dialogue with children on what does this mean and how can we reach that. Yesterday was Pablo Gonzalez, maybe. He was saying something that really captured what I wanted to say. So he was, but in a certain sense, was helping me. He said that your plan de vida, your project of life, is not decontextualized. It is in the context where you live. And this means that the context where you live is important. And you are part of it. So you may fail your project of life because you fail yourself to be part of the process of a larger community and of a nation. So taking the responsibility of that helps you also to reach your project of life. Thank you very much for what you said and for this opportunity. The point is that it's not just Chile. Each country is afraid when you want to give people the opportunity to think, to be cooperative, to care about others, to have a word that is different in the processes, mainly in the processes. So it's really something we have to work on. And the rights, the children rights is the starting point. Without that, we can forget about the rest. So although I'm saying the capability approach can complement, I'm saying that if you don't have the rights, let's forget about it.